Hello and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Miel. This is part of my 29 Days of Magic series where I interview a Black woman a day, 29 straight days, all for during Black History Month.
And I am super delighted to have Nikki Porcher, who is the founder of Buy From a Black Woman. She has an incredible story, and it's going to be a great conversation. Do please take a listen. Hey, Nikki.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I sound like Hakeem from Coming to America. I'm very happy to be here.
I'm from Queens. I love it.
But yes, no, thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, totally. I'm delighted to have you with us today. So, first question. Answer's always amazing. I'm sure yours will be no different. So, Nikki, what was your first job?
My first job was a daycare in Checkers. I was very ambitious from the start. I had two jobs at the same time for first job. So I worked at this daycare called Green Daycare, and then I would get on the bus to 419 and head to Checkers. So I had two first jobs because I got them at the same time, and I worked them the same summer. So yeah.
Damn. Which one did you like better?
You know what? The daycare, because I was young. I was only 16. So it was like very easy. The daycare was owned by my boyfriend at the time's mom. So I got to see him and I got paid. So, the daycare was better.
I can see how that would be good. But wasn't doing all those crazy parents and their children rather insane?
Well, I was only there for the summer. It was like the summer camp type thing. So I didn't, deal with all that. But it was nice to have a job, to have my own money. I remember buying my bus pass and I got a beeper. I am aging myself by saying bus pass.
Whoa, you just aged yourself. Girl, why'd you say that? Because these young ones don't know what beepers were.
But I remember I was like, let me go get my beeper. It was like clear, like the clear see-through one. And you couldn't tell me nothing. And then I was working two jobs. I got my own line in the house. I'm really dating myself. I got my own line in my house. And I went back to school fly. Like, yeah, I got money now. Like, what's up?
It's funny to because I remember being in elementary school and I wanted a beeper so bad because all my brothers had them, and because obviously it was 9 years younger than them, and I just thought it was so cool to have a beeper. And I just remember thinking by the time I got to be old enough, oh, cell phone, how the technology had already flown by. Instead of someone beeping you and 911, it's oh, you have an actual phone. It's in your pocket. In that short window of time, so much change. So yeah, different time.
A different time. Yeah. A simpler time too, because you can choose to call a person back or not. You can just say, oh, I'm gonna buy a phone. There was no read or saw, so I could get away.
Right. There was no left unread that was available to you.
So it was a fun time. I'm glad I was able to live that period. I think living now as a 16-year-old would be a lot more pressure. So I give thanks for the simpler times as well. Now I'm starting to go one of those old people back in my day, but
we didn't have camera phones. And we also didn't record all my crimes, which these people do on the regular. What is wrong with y'all?
Yes, and I always say I get thanks. There was no social media during Pinnacle Club season for me in my life, because I'm pretty sure I would not be a founder of a nonprofit if all of my escapades were documented and put online. So yeah, I lived my 20s. So I lived. That's all I'll say.
It's just part of the world we live in. But yeah, I just escaped it. Camera phones were just becoming a thing, and I was exiting college. I was okay, cool. So you missed that. But all right, so we go from having a dope beeper and money to where you are now. What's that career journey been like?
Oh my gosh, that's a huge career journey. Because I guess and they tell you don't rush to start working because you'll never stop working, right? Many jobs. When I graduated high school, I got a job working for like a very well-known sportswear company in New York, but I got fired. I was not mature enough to handle that job or that responsibility that came with it. So then I went through this whole process of trying to find a job. And I remember one year I had about 7 or 8 different W-2s come because that's how many jobs I had that year. It was something to be said, but yeah. And then I went to the military. I was in the Air Force for about 9 years. When I got out of that, I worked at a couple of nonprofits. I was a school teacher. And now I work for myself. So all those jobs really helped me get to where I'm at now. At the time, I had no idea, but they've all taught me something. I learned things and I'm able to implement that in running an organization, being a leader. And now, being on the other side of where I am hiring people and having employees as well.
So tell us more about Black woman. And also, before we get there, you just glossed over the fact that you were a Black woman in the Air Force for 9 years.
Yeah, well, yeah, I did that. I've been to the war. I was in Operation Iraqi. I'm really dating myself. I was in Operation Iraqi in Enduring Freedom. So I actually was there when it first started, and then also was still overseas when they did a name change, the rebrand, I guess, of this, what you want to call it, what Bush was doing. So yeah, I've seen some things. I've been some places as a result of that.
What was that like? Like being in a war zone? What, girl?
I'm sorry, I thought you threw a loop with that.
No, I was talking. I knew that, but I'm not letting you gloss over that. Back up there. Explain.
Well, my job in the military, I was a maintenance scheduler for KC 135s and 130s. And what that is, that's the person who's in charge of making sure that all the maintenance is in compliance, the maintenance checks, the records are up to date before they actually fly, and also going ahead and scheduling which aircraft is going to do which mission. Well, for our 135s is the refueling plane. So we actually refuel the fighter jets and all that stuff mid-air. It's a very it's an interesting concept of what they do. I was able to witness it a couple of times, but that was my job. And the maintenance is very man dominated, also very white men dominated as well.
I'm thinking, like, girl, how did this happen?
Yeah, give thanks for creator protecting me, right? So when I went overseas, when they were doing our deployment, well, at first I was told I would not deploy because I was new to the service. I had not had my 5 level, because it's different levels. You get 3, 5, and 7. And I was only at 3 level. And I hadn't got my 5 level. So they go, well, you don't have your 5 level. You can't go. You don't have anything to worry about. You just got to the base, blah, 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 blah. Well, everyone else in my office had medical reasons why they could not go. So they sent me. And being overseas for the first time in my life, being in foreign land, and then being in foreign land as a military airman was a totally different experience, not just with the military people, because now here I am, this young Black girl from Jersey, having to tell these white men that they can't use this jet, that I'm not going to sign this, I'm not going to do that, because it's my name on it. If something goes wrong, then I will get in trouble. But then also being in a land where is, a real war is happening. So when we did go off of the base, they're new, like, okay, well, she's with those white men, so she's part of that military, so let's go ahead and harass them. So then it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to hang out with y'all off base. I'm just going to be by myself. But now I'm a Black woman, and I remember we were in Cyprus, me and this other Black woman, and we were just hanging out. Again, give thanks for the creator protecting me, because we went out and we just hung out in the town. And this is like this, neither one of us has never been there. We ended up hanging out with some local people. And when we came back, we didn't realize the base was locked down and people had been looking for us because we had just started bombing a certain part of the country. So they're like, well, where are you guys at? Like, we could have been taken for all we know, but we were just out there just trying to figure out stuff. So yeah, and that's just the stories I'll share. There's a lot of stuff, other stuff that happened that I'm just not comfortable sharing publicly. But it's one of those things where you're being protected. When I look back on it, I know that the creator is real. I know that I was being protected. And even the things that I witnessed, some of the things that, was a result of that, because I do have PTSD. I had to go through lots of therapy sessions for some of the trauma that I experienced while over there, but I'm not as unfortunate as so many other people. Like I did lose a friend while I was over there as well. So I give thanks that the creator looked out for me. That's so when I do my work, whatever I do the best I can, and I make sure I put everything I into, because one, I asked for this life. The creator decided to spare me for whatever it is. So I have to make sure that I show up every day as a way of gratitude, as a way of giving thanks.
That's incredible, and thank you so much for sharing what you did. Whenever I meet folks who've been in the military, I'm always one tip my hat because there's no universe where I could ever do that. But also give you all grace because no one knows what that's like.
Yeah.
And it's important for folks to understand that like veterans come in all shapes, sizes, and colors and genders.
Yes.
And it's important to understand that once you've been through something like that, you've been through something. And to be open and honest and be able to share is so very important. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. I share as much as I can because, well, you just never know who else is out there who needs something, And I'd say Black women are living examples. So we cannot be true living examples if we're not sharing how we are living examples. And then also, as a reminder to myself, when I'm worried, when I'm doubtful, when I'm skeptical, when I'm not believing in me, I'm like, bitch, you've been in 2 wars. Why are you upset with this? You got this. Keep going. So it also helps me and it serves as a reminder, like, wow, yeah, I did do that. Okay, let me act like I know who I am.
Let me reset this program one more time because I got you are that one.
Yeah.
2 wars, whatever it is, got this.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you've been through all these different programs, different jobs, and then what prompts you to start Black for a Black woman?
So I was working in a nonprofit that I enjoyed the mission, but I did not enjoy working for the people. So I was just not fulfilled. I went to this event. Let me back it up. So I also run. I'm a runner, which is part of my therapy as well. And I was told I wouldn't run again. So I shattered my kneecap. And I was told I was going to run again. So like, let me start running half marathons, and then in my true extreme Leo self, like, okay, well, let me start running half marathons to see if I can do them in every state. I missed my flight to go to Florida. So as a way to self-medicate, I went shopping. I'm like, well, I'm gonna go shopping and make myself feel better. I went to this event and I was the only Black woman at the event. And I was like, well, this is ridiculous because I know Black women who are selling things, who are doing things. Let me see what I can do to help spread the word about that. So I started blogging, again, an old school term. I started blogging and I created what I called the Buy from a Black Woman Challenge. And once a week, I would buy from a Black woman and then I would just write about it, post some pictures, and the blog really just started taking off with other Black women business owners who wanted to be part of the blog, people who were looking for Black businesses. And then again, this was in like the start of 2016 when it was not as sexy as it is today.
Trend to do it, yeah.
To support Black women, to buy from Black women businesses, to seek them out. So this was like very, very early in what we see happening today. And when people started reaching out to me, they wanted to like send money so that I can keep buying things. I was like, well, I know the nonprofit formula. You want people to spread awareness. You want people to donate to your mission and you see your vision. And people are doing that. Let me, make this a nonprofit so that I can do more. Because obviously there's something else that's happening here and I'm just not sure yet. So maybe this is supposed to be a nonprofit. So went and filed and got all the information. And I'm making it sound very easy, but it's not. But I was able to go ahead and file for my 501 and I got it. And I was like, okay, all right, yeah, okay. But even then in April 2016, to see how much it has grown, what it's still growing into is remarkable. Again, I always say, like, I stay in a place of gratitude because like, even then I knew it was going to be something, but I didn't know what something looked like. And every year my dreams get bigger. every year I am outdoing my goals. And it's so funny because when you're aligned and when you're in sync, my team, we had our staff meeting yesterday. And it's like, oh, well, Nikki, what's next? Like, what's the next big thing? Da, da, da. Like, well, I'm not sure. I don't know yet. Because last year I wasn't sure that was going to happen, and that did. So then just this morning, something came to me and I was like, okay, this is it. So I sent the email to my team, like, hey, team, this is what's the next big thing. We was waiting. We knew we was going to get something today. Like one of my team, he's like, yeah, I knew today I was going to get an email you was going to tell me because it literally comes that fast. But it comes that fast when you're in alignment. It happens that quickly when you're doing your purpose, when you're, remembering to stay humble, remembering to give thanks for everything, knowing that no, it's not you. You're being used as a tool, as a resource. So as long as you stay in that place, things will come quickly, it will happen easily, and you don't have to worry about no's.
I love that. And yeah, when you're aligned, it's always amazing what doors fling open. And you're like, wait, what? Huh? Okay, cool. Gonna fly through it. So obviously you started in 2016. So before there was actual hype, you saw this as the place to be. So obviously, I'm sure things changed in 2020. What was that response like?
So it was, I'm so many mixed emotions, especially now when we see, people are so excited and jumping through hoops, and now getting somebody to return those same people, getting them to return your email is like pulling teeth, right? And so 2020 was a great time for Black businesses, but also it kind of set some Black businesses up to fail because it was just an influx of demand. It was temporary, which is very unfortunate. So we got to see who was serious and who wasn't when it came to supporting Black people, and not just business owners, but just like Black people as a whole in this country. And then, of course, so many people who wanted to jump on the trend and they got notoriety because they were connected to this name or that person doing similar things that we've been doing since 2016. So it was like a good and bad thing, if that makes sense.
No, I get it. And now we're 3 years later, post, the hype of post George Floyd and everyone suddenly realizing there are Black people in this country. Where do you see things now?
As I mentioned earlier, there were so many people, especially when it came to organizations, who were excited to be part of our mission, not just with Buy from a Black Woman in particular, but just like the Black women business stuff. And a lot of them did not fulfill their commitments. A lot of them didn't do what they say they were going to do for Black women, Black businesses. So it's very disheartening to see that. But I know I didn't start this work with them in mind. I started this work for Black women, to keep Black women, make sure they were seen, heard, and supported. So I keep doing that. And it's just a difference because in 3 years, we've gone up and we're still going up. So that's not a problem, but it's just like, the country, you thought they were coming around, and just that quickly they remind you why you started.
Yeah, I think that's the key about like you're in it for the right reasons as opposed to being there for the hype.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
So okay, now so you started in 2016. So you're 7 years in. Where do you see the next 7 years for Black from a Black woman?
Oh my goodness, I don't know. I'm gonna keep it funky with you. I don't know. Saying that from a place of excitement, not of scaredness. Because like I said, every time I think I've done something remarkable, something else happens. And we just keep doing more and more for the organization, for the community, for Black women. I'm excited to see where we are in 7 years. I would love for it to be certain places, and that means just when I say like I want world domination for Black women, people laugh when I say that, but I'm not joking.
Nope, not at all. Oh, listen, you were saying the exact same thing I say all the time. So nothing you're saying is not the truth.
Yeah, so I hope for that, where Buy from Black Women is the number one resource when it comes to Black women business owners. People understand the value of supporting Black women. Black women see the value of supporting Black women. Yeah, I know we're 7 years will be 14, and that's when you're a teenager. And we all know if you had children, that age 14, something dynamic happens. That's when you start understanding who you are. You're figuring things out, but you understand who you are. And you don't really accept people telling you that you can't do stuff. You work, you know what I mean? Like, we're still at 7, we know how to spell our name. We're tying our shoe. We're crossing the street, not holding hands, but we're still a baby. So when we become a teenager, I'm excited because I remember who I was at 14.
I love it. I mean, listen, I have said that many a time, that like world domination of Black people, Black women would just make the world a better place, honestly, because we actually know it better than everybody else. We've been through it all. We see it all. And so therefore for us, it's about doing things the right way, always and forever. And it would make life a lot easier for folks, just saying.
It really would. The world would be so much easier if people actually listen to Black women.
It's just like it really would just let shut up and let us do our thing. Could you? It's a thing, I swear. Where I'm like, y'all do not fully understand. It's bananas. I do not get it. But there is the best way to the deal. Even though we can't do that right this moment, obviously you do a tremendous amount for Black women every day as you run your company. So what do you do for Nikki? What do you do for your self-care?
So I run. Running is a big thing for me. And then I do read a lot, which is self-care, but it's also learning. Because I really don't read fiction books. So that's self-care because I'm trying to make sure that I'm a better leader as well. But running, sometimes I paint. Sometimes I just sit in the sun with my dog and drink. I go on trips. Sometimes I do nothing. Sometimes self-care is nothing.
Honestly, sometimes just doing absolutely nothing is not nothing. I saw a great thing on Instagram on one of those kind of inspirational posts. And like, it's not I did nothing. It's like I recharged. I slept. I put myself first, and that's really important. So I love that, and I think you're so right about it. It doesn't have to be a defined thing. Like I have to go get a massage. It can literally be I just sat and relaxed. Literally just relaxed. Like I restored. I rested. Like super duper important because we all know that we have a ton to deal with on a daily basis.
Right.
So how we find our way through is however we're able to find our way through. So I 100% agree with you on that focus. And we talked about like what how when you're 14 and like how that all changes. What do you think you'd tell 18-year-old Nikki, knowing what you all know now?
Oh my goodness. If I could go talk to 18-year-old Nikki, oh, this world would be in trouble. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Oh, do tell.
Like, if me today could go and tell 18-year-old Nikki, I still would have went to the military. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I was able to do a lot of things, even though it was not the greatest experience with certain parts of it. I still would have did that because I was able to get my son. And I was able to do other stuff as well. So I will make sure like I still did that part because my son is my son. I love him. And I wouldn't want to not have him despite, growing up with him and all the jazz that comes with raising a child in your 20s. So yeah, I'm like, oh, still do that, girl, because we need brown boy. But when you get out, let me tell you what you need to do next. And I would have just made sure she knew how to avoid some of the hardships where she didn't think she was enough. And then also remind her that she is enough. She's more than enough, actually, if I'm being honest. Because I'm not talking to me, I'm talking to me.
I love that. I really do. That's fantastic. And it's interesting because like there's so much we all it's like you're gonna find your way. Like I think that's the thing that a lot of folks realize. They're like, oh my goodness, if I haven't started all out by 2022, like, oh God, what am I gonna do? It's like, yeah, no, dude, you're forever figuring it out. There's never gonna be like 100% moment where you're like, no, I've got this entire thing just all figured out. Like, no, it's just an ongoing journey.
Yeah, it really is. Like, even, my grandmother is 85, and she's still figuring stuff out. So it's like, but I think it's what keeps you excited. It keeps you going, knowing that you don't have, if you had everything figured out, you'd be complacent. You'd be lazy because you think you have it all figured out. Not knowing what's next is exciting. Like we're all living trailers of our own lives, and we're making the movie as we go. So, yeah.
Step by step by step by step by step. Honestly, building Black for Black women, I'm sure it was not easy. So looking back on all the things that you've done, tell me about how you had a challenge. You're like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to figure this out. And then you did.
Everything. What you mean? We just
Well,
the creation, because I did the nonprofit paperwork myself. So I'm like, how do you do this? Let me figure it out. And there it goes.
Wow. Okay. Well, everything. But what would you say is like the thing that like kind of keeps you going and keeps you moving forward?
Black women.
I love it. Because like there's just an endless supply of us doing dope stuff all day, every day.
Yeah, so they keep me going. I know everything that I'm doing for the organization is for Black women. Black women have always been there for me since the start. My mother, my grandmother, my aunt, all Black women. My best friend, a Black woman. It's always been Black women, so they keep me going. Maya Angelou has this quote: "I do my best because I'm counting on you, counting on me," and that's how I live my life.
That I absolutely love. Like this count, I'm gonna count on me. Like period, full stop. Like I will figure this out somehow, some way, and it'll be damn good. So
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree. So last question for you. Do you have a give and or an ask of the audience?
A give and an ask. Okay. The give is, on Buy from a Black Woman, we help Black women business owners. We have a Buy from a Black Woman business planning workbook that is free this year. So you can go to our website and download it for free. Your business plan is always a working plan. It's never completed. You're always working. So that's my give, a free Buy from a Black Woman business planning workbook to help you plan and continue to work your business. My ask would be donations. Like donate to Buy from Black Women so we can keep going. We need donations.
I think that's pretty straightforward. So what we're gonna do is put all the details in the show notes for if you're a small business owner and you need a business plan, go on Buy from a Black Woman's website and download the free business plan book that she actually has because it's necessary. I can't tell you how many people ask me about how do you have a business plan. I'm like, I do not have the time to teach you this, but small business services. But you have a book, so therefore I'll be directing more people to your book as part of that. And yes, donate to Black from a Black Woman. This is not hard. We'll put all these in the show notes. Like this is really not that hard. Like you want to figure out what you want to do and how you can help and move conversations forward and actually help Black women, buy from them.
Yes.
Like mentorship is wonderful, but you know what's even better? Your cash. So
yes.
buy from them.
Yes. Well, they was like, we like to type that jingles, but we prefer to type that folds.
100% remember her type of folds. Nikki, you are such a delight and so wonderful, and you have such an amazing story. I am so glad I got a chance to talk to you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you sharing space to tell my story. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And that is our show.